3, 2, 1, go.
Hi everyone, I'm Paul Cleveland Warren, living in the city of Cleveland, in the state of Cleveland, in the United States of Cleveland. And well, put this tree up. It looks like a Charlie Brown tree. I don't care. But I'm going to tell you my favorite Christmas movie of all time. Can you take a while to guess what it is?
Die Hard.
I saw it yesterday, and I still don't see the resemblance of Christmas. I'm sorry.
Well, what's your favorite Christmas movie of all time?
It's a Wonderful Life.
And Die Hard's more of a Christmas movie than It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, that's your opinion, man. So, It's a Wonderful Life, starring James Stewart, Donna Reed, and Lionel Barrymore, and you'll see that thing over there with Pepe Le Pew. I can't believe they canceled moi. But yeah. So it's directed by Frank Capra. It was based upon a story, as a matter of fact. It's like some Hallmark card kind of thing, but yeah. So it starts off on Christmas Eve. Everyone's praying for George Bailey because he's in some DS deep shit. So. And then you see...
That's all the angels or whatever, right?
Yeah, and so Joseph and God are talking to each other, and it's Clarence's night to help George Bailey, and they say, okay, here's how his life goes. I can't see anything. Oh yeah, I forgot you don't have your wings yet. And so George and Bailey and his friends, Sam, hee-haw, and also Wainwright and Harry.
Yeah, it's his brother Harry, right?
Yeah. And they're all slaying with shovels, and Harry goes to the deep end of the pond.
So they're sliding down a snowy hill on shovels. They're not
Yes.
hitting each other with shovels.
Right. They get a violent film, but so George saw that Harry needed help, so George saves Harry, and even though he caught a bad cold and he
lost a hearing in one of his ears.
Yeah,
right?
his left ear.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him a while to work with Mr. Gower, who that day he was drunk. It's like, you're light, because he lost his son, I believe.
Yeah, his son died, right?
Yeah, from the 1919 flu.
An actual really terrible flu that killed hundreds of thousands of people, or millions, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, and he was just very angry, he was drunk, and he accidentally puts poison in someone's
medicine container.
And George didn't.
George notices it and tells him it's a mistake.
Well, he goes sees his father first, and Harry F. Potter. Henry F. Potter, not Harry. But and it's Uncle Bill's like, oh great, he keeps forgetting everything. He'd probably forget that he wore underwear. But yeah, and George defends his father, and when he comes back, Mr. Gower slaps him, assaulting the George. But he's like, oh no, I could have done worse.
He realizes he almost poisoned somebody, so he apologizes to George, gives him a weird, long hug.
Yeah. Turned from physical to...
another kind of physical.
Yeah. And so he doesn't tell Mary who was in the place, and George actually, fast forward 10 years later, George was planning on going to Europe because, he liked getting National Geographic.
I'm going to see the world. The suitcase is going to have stickers from all over the world.
And Mr. Gower even gives it as a gift. So that night, the Bailey family is having dinner, and you get the sassy housekeeper, played by Lillian Randolph, who actually did the voice of who played the maid housekeeper in Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Yeah.
Really,
that is true.
So it's like, I'm glad one of you lug nuts said it first. And so George decides to go to Harry's class reunion, and they are doing the Charleston, and Alfalfa is jealous because he's hitting on Mary, and so Alfalfa decides to open up the pool. I have the key. I know, I call him Alfalfa. It's another name. But
Yeah, it's the dude who played Alfalfa, though.
dial 1-900-ALFALFA. So this is if Nikki, if you're watching this, I doubt it. This is your favorite scene when you were a kid, where George and Mary are dancing to Charleston, and they fall in the pool, and then everyone jumps into the pool, and George and Mary are having a good time, and it's like George throws rocks, it's like, I'm going to see the world, and then Mary decides to throw a rock, and it breaks too, and she doesn't say what she wished for, and George's like, was it the moon? Mark, the moon scene.
Yeah, what about it?
You want the moon, Mary?
I'll grab you the moon.
Yeah, and it's like, and why don't you stop talking her to death and kiss her? And then Mary bolts and she gets a wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, her robe falls off and she jumps into the bush.
Yeah.
Or it's quite the interesting situation we have right here.
Mm-hmm. and but Bert, the cop, would be on George's side, and some of his friends too. And
yeah, that's what he says. People wouldn't believe you either.
Yeah, and so he was about to give Mary the robe just say what you're wishing for, but unfortunately, the Bailey family interrupts him because his father gets a heart attack, and it was a bad heart attack. He dies.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sacrifices his trip to Europe to help out the building loans at this dark time.
Yeah.
And they turn Potter down, and they want George to stay in there, but he's planning on going to college, unfortunately. But George, they'll vote for Potter if you turn it down. And this is me as George goes, all right, you insist. I'll work on the work there. And so George gives Harry the money to go to college instead.
Yeah.
Fast forward 4 years later, it's the Great Depression, and Harry comes back from college. He's married, and everyone's having a party for him, and somebody drops something, and they pretend it's like Uncle Bill just bumped into something, like trash cans or something. So George decides to go to Mary's house. She wasn't expecting him, and then she also gets a call from Sam Wainwright in New York. But George says, why don't you go to a factory in around this area? And I think it was actually Rochester they were trying, but Bedford Falls.
Yeah.
But Mary was upset at George, and George returned because I've got my hat. And so they make a vow not to get married, but guess what?
And they get married.
Yes.
They're never going to marry anybody. Anytime, anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So as George and Mary are going on their honeymoon with Ernie the cab driver, Bert the cop, Ernie the cab driver. That sounds familiar.
Oh, Ernie and Bert.
Hey, Bert. Ernie, that was just a rumor. Oh, I didn't realize that. So
Don't Bert and Ernie kiss in the movie, though?
Yes, that's the scene with the but there's running at the bank.
Uh-huh.
So it's like in the Great Depression, that's what happens.
Right.
And Potter wanted to keep everyone in control, so it's like
Potter's giving 70 cents on the dollar, or whatever the guy yells.
Yeah, and George, and so George and Mary give away most of their money except for $2. But Mary left, just like the ship and the train and all that. So the honeymoon's at the abandoned house, and that's what she wished for. the house. So Bert the cop, and Ernie the cab driver decide to drape the place with all the places they wanted to go, but because even George wanted to travel the world again after Harry came back, but Harry had other plans. So George was stuck with the building and loans. Yeah, so I really encourage you to watch this movie, but then again, you'll probably watch this movie on Christmas.
Yeah, they play it on like several different channels, right?
It's like one of the Garfield characters, it's like Wade the Duck says, "Oh, the cartoon that they play 7 million times on TV." And I'm no good at Wade Duck, but I hope you're enjoying this. Warner Brothers Broadcasting Network. Click, like, subscribe, ring that bell. Is that a better bell than the cowbell?
That works. It's not too loud.
So yeah, I'm going to turn this over because we're at the banks, because that was the scene I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. They have to give all the money to the people.
So yeah, so George and Mary are real successful with the building and loans. Mary's fixing up the house. George keeps plopping the knob on the banister. Keeps removing it. But why don't you just glue the damn thing? But so Potter decides, how about you work with me? And George says, no, I won't. I forgot his monologue against Henry Potter.
Yeah.
But it's like, you're spider web and what have you. And that goes for the rest of you. So that night, George lassos Stork. And at that point, they have 4 children. George and Mary have 4 children. It's basically... So, George Bailey just remains in Bedford Falls. Right. Then came World War II. A lot of people helped down World War II. Even though his brother Harry, Bert, and Ernie, Harry Bailey, Bert the cop, and Ernie the cab driver, they all fought overseas. George decides to defend the homeland, like with air raid, tire strapping, and even praying for the troops. And now we go to Christmas Eve, 1945. And Uncle Bill is going to put $8,000 in the bank. But unfortunately, he lost it. Well, actually, Potter took it. If Bill would have thought about that, we would have had a better ending. And everyone kills Potter. That's how it should have ended. Everyone kills Potter because...
Right.
And
the SNL alternate ending is great.
Yeah. And Bert the Cop would let that happen because of how much of an ass Mr. Potter was. So, yeah. Well, like the bank guy, whatever, is at the building loans, and George says that it has been a good year. It's had a little bit of a slump after the Second World War. But, so George tells Uncle Bill, where did you put the money? And he looked everywhere, but he still says, I can't find it. So back at home, George is in a really crappy mood, and it's like he doesn't want anyone to come over. I know it's Christmas Eve. It's like this is like the drafty house thing, and Zuzu's pet, and
Zuzu's petals,
and Zuzu didn't want to button up her jacket, so she had a little bit of a cold, and she decides to stay in bed. It's like, Daddy, can you fix my flower? And I'll try to. And it just hides the petals in his pocket. and Zuzu, and he comforts Zuzu, but then Mrs. Welch is on the phone, and he yells at her, and then Mr. Welch wants to pick 200 plus bones of him, because that's how many bones people have, 200 plus.
Yeah.
And then he's hearing Hark the Herald Angels sing umpteen times, like, Daddy, you want to say frankincense or hallelujah? Do you have to play a song over and over again? And George Bailey did what I did last Christmas. Blew a fuse. Because he just got angry all over the place.
Right.
And so he leaves in a blizzard. So he's at Martini's. He's trying to drink it off, but and he's praying, and then Mr. Welch gives him an uppercut. So Nick kicks him Martini out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have everything. Mamma mia, that's a spicy meatball. So, yeah. And so he rams his car on the oldest tree in Bedford Falls. The neighbor chews him out. It's not like it's gonna.
And isn't the neighbor that guy from I Love Lucy?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's not Fred?
No, but he looks like him.
Sounds like him.
Yeah. So we get to the next scene where George meets the I'm Your Guardian Angel. Bingo! Yes! I know. I just thought that would be. It was like if Jim Carrey did that.
Yeah.
I'm Your Guardian Angel. Bingo! Yahtzee! Is that your final answer? Our survey says Guardian Angel. Ding, 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 ding. I know. I was thinking Bruce Almighty. So, yeah. George is very upset because, he went to Mr. Potter's, like, he needs $8,000. And it's like, you're better off dead than alive. Yeah, so, yeah, I skipped that part, but that's kind of key. But Potter actually wanted to...
You're worth more dead than alive.
He wanted Potter... Potter wanted Bailey in his place. And it was like, they're going to catch you on a rail or something like that. They'll just
run you on a rail out of town.
Yeah, but unfortunately, George realizes that's not going to happen, even if anything. But he's like, I wish I was never been born at all. It's like I just wait for you to say that line.
What line is that?
What Bailey said about I wish I'd never been born.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I'd never
been born at all.
And so Clarence gives George his wish, like as he was drawing his Tom Sawyer book.
Yeah.
But so he sees that Martini became Nick's. I don't know how that happened. I really like to know why it was Nick's. What did Martini? Was Martini too poor to own a bar or something?
Yeah, isn't that what happened? Is he wasn't able to get the money from George to open it?
That's possible. So that's why Nick has the bar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another reason why not to like you. Look, I'm giving Angel's wings because he rings as the cash register, and oh wait, another angel got its wings. So, I wonder how many angels I gave wings, or did they drink Red Bull?
Oh, that's how you get your wings now.
Yes. So no. So then then Mr. Gower stumbles in drunk and homeless and what have you. He's been in the prison cell because he poisoned a kid and
went to jail for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so George and Clarence get kicked out, and even the guy who said about the tree hitting, he's like, you live in Pottersville now. And like Pottersville becomes since like the Las Vegas of the East. And before Las Vegas. Before there was Las Vegas, there was Pottersville.
Yeah.
Great debauchery, great gambling, debauchery, drunkenness, and what have you. And everything is just goes awry. All in Pottersville, New York. But another reason why I wear a Back to the Future shirt, because you know how Biff
Yeah.
like took over everything in '88, like the whole town was abandoned and people are fending for their lives, like that African American family who has to take the law in their own hands, and the principal who accuses Marty and what have you.
Right.
It's like Marty knew that he was living in another dimension, but same scenario. Well, but now let's go back to Wonderful Life. So George asks Ernie to give him a ride, and he too is living in the shacks of Pottersville because he's living under the thumb of Henry Potter, and the house has been abandoned. The house that they live in now is abandoned. No family, no Zuzu, no Zuzu's pedals, no spring. So
No springs.
So George decides to meet up with his mother, and she's just a curmudgeonly old lady. It's like, "How are you? Go away! I don't know you. I have no sons. I have no children anymore."
Well, not anymore, but
Yeah.
I have no children.
Yeah. Harry died at a young age, and then George goes to the cemetery, and they all died, George. Everyone on that planet's gone.
Your brother wasn't there to save them because you weren't there to save your brother.
And so George says, "I gotta go see what happened to Mary." And so Mary now looks like she could look like she's from a Hitch. I think this is why Alfred Hitchcock had James Stewart in the films of the 50s. So this scene does have that Hitchcock-ish kind of feel. Even Mary, Donna Reed, looks like she could have been in a Hitchcock film at this point. The bachelorette librarian. I know they call her an old maid, but
Right.
or back then spinster. Now it's bachelorette.
Correct.
So she's a bachelorette closing the library, and she doesn't like being around George because it's like following her, and then George punches Bert the cop, and Bert the cop crushes George's head. No, that's something else.
Okay.
That's yeah, I think it might too soon.
Yeah.
Okay, so George runs back to the bridge where he had his vehicle, and it's like he's trying to look for Clarence. It's like, I want to look again. I want to look again. And it starts snowing. And Bert, the cop, returns like, "Stop it, Burl! Wait, you know my name." His lips bleeding. He's glad to be alive. And it's like, "I'm alive! I'm alive! Not anymore!" No, that's from Scrooge.
Yeah.
I watched Scrooge too. I could have done that film, but that's so he's like, "Merry Christmas, Theater! Merry Christmas, movie house! Merry Christmas, Bill and Loan! Merry Christmas to you, Mr. Potter! Yeah, and a Happy New Year too, in hell!"
Yeah.
Because reporters, people who have a warrant for his arrest, and everything else is waiting for him at the home, and George's family found him back all alive and kicking, and "No more smidge temperature, your daddy." And he even grabs the post like, "Oh," he kisses the banister post thingy. He could have done what Griswold did. "Okay, fixed it."
Yeah.
Yeah, So then everyone comes by, gives him $8,000, probably even more so, maybe $16,000,
Uh-huh.
and they tear up the warrant, and even Lillian Randolph says, "I was going to save this for if I ever had a husband, but since I don't have a husband, here you go." And Harry comes back from DC to Bedford Falls because once he heard the report, he left the presidential dinner, and he says, "To my own brother, the richest man I ever know." And then Bill says, "Oh, wait a minute, Potter took the money."
Yeah.
No, that's what should have happened. But no. And everyone is happy. They're singing Auld Lang Syne, and "Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings." And, "Oh boy, Clarence." And there's even the quote from Mark Twain said, "No man is a failure who has many friends."
Yeah.
I don't know why that's never happened to me yet. I have many friends.
Do you?
Okay, maybe I am a failure.
Okay.
So, well, I have many Facebook friends, 770 plus. So yeah, that's It's a Wonderful Life. And unfortunately, it was a flop. And it's just like what Phoebe said one time. "That's not a wonderful life. It's a crappy life. He loses everything. What have you?" And there was also the. And then they remade it like 30 years later.
Oh, it's a terrible remake too.
Yeah, starring Marlo Thomas, Orson Welles, and Wayne Rogers. Yeah, it's just like how Wayne Rogers replaced Donna Reed in It's a Wonderful Life. No, it's a little What? How did that happen? What did that happen? That's a little complicated. I'll tell you when you're older. Yeah, I'd like to talk over that wonderful Christmas. Yeah, that'd be a great one to talk over. So yeah, and it's been and that scene's been referenced in many films. I was actually watching Tiny Toons, and they did that as well. Like Bugs Bunny plays Harvey the rabbit.
Oh, okay.
And Buster says, "I wish I didn't be a cartoon character at all." But yeah, so that is It's a Wonderful Life, my favorite Christmas film. And again, I already know what Mark's favorite Christmas movie is. So,
Die Hard.
And I say otherwise. Hey, I watched half of it last night. But yeah, I have a wild guess on what next week's movie is.
Well, you should have more than you're going to give us a hint.
A little hint.
Yeah, would it be Space Jam?
Yes. And the Michael Jordan one, not the new one that's going to come out. I refuse to watch that because Pepe is not part of it. Mon Dieu, why not? Well, Pepe, you're stuck in that tin can. I'm Paul Mr. Clean. And actually, they filmed it on The Wonderful Life on a heat wave.
Oh, yeah, it was really hot.
And everyone had to take a rest, so... I'm Paul Mr. Cleveland Warren, living in the city of Cleveland, in the state of Cleveland, in the United States of Cleveland. Signing off. Mother Angel Guided Swings.
And we're clear.